Good morning, Dr. Lewis Singer, Singer Family Chiropractic here in Boynton Beach, Florida, where families go to be well. And it's time for another question for Doc. Well, this is something a little different. I was at synagogue this past week, and we were at the Kiddush, which is the meal after the service, and we were talking about different places we were from, and we got on the question of where I went to school, where I did my undergraduate work, which was at a small school in Macon, Georgia, a school that's near and dear to my heart called Mercer, M-E-R-C-E-R, Mercer University, which at the time, I think they're still a Baptist school, and at the time they were affiliated with the Southern Baptist Convention. And it was interesting because, especially being a Jewish boy at the time, and still am Jewish, they asked me, like, why did I pick that particular school? Especially since there were very few. There were probably about a dozen Jews on campus out of a school of about 10,000 kids. And I said the reason, and this was the question, why did I pick that school? Well, at the time, my father had a friend who he worked with in Metropolitan Life, and his two sons went to Mercer, and they became medical doctors. And Mercer is very well known, especially in the South, for having an amazing science department, which is, physics and biology and chemistry. And at that point, I actually wanted to be a medical doctor. So I said, well, if Mercer was good for them and they got into medical school, then that's where I'm going to go. And, I have a very interesting history with medicine and medical doctors. From the time I was very, very little, I wanted to be a medical doctor. And in high school, I actually worked for medical doctors after school and during the summer and such. And this was about 1982, 1983. This was right when the HMOs were really taking over the industry, taking over medicine. And I remember the doctors that I worked for, that I had such fondness for, they told me not to become a medical doctor, that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It wasn't really about doctoring. It wasn't really so much about helping people. It was about insurance reimbursement. It's about making the right codes and doing the right documentation and everything to get paid. And that was taking over medicine at that point. Again, this was about the point that the HMOs were coming in. And, most of the medical doctors that I knew, they were nice people, but they weren't really that excited about what they were doing. And again, that was just kind of what I thought and what I felt from the medical doctors that I knew and the ones that I worked for. And then when I found out about chiropractic, it totally just blew my mind, because all the chiropractors that I had been to and I had interviewed, they loved what they did. They were helping to take care of people without drugs and without surgery, just by using their hands and doing something called an adjustment. People were getting well and needed less surgery and needed less drugs, and we're still doctors, we're still physicians, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. So it's funny how things in our life work out, that we're always in the right place at the right time for what we need at that moment, and I'm a firm believer of that. And I got to tell you, and I told somebody this the other day, that I've been in chiropractic for close to 31 years. I love it more today than I did even back then. It's just so much more exciting, and to just see people getting well without drugs and without surgery. And of course, I have a huge respect for medicine and medical doctors. In life and death situations, there's nobody even better. But in keeping people healthy and keeping people well and keeping people tuning into their own body's innate or inborn intelligence and making sure the body works well, there's absolutely nothing like chiropractic. So that's a little bit about my story and how I became a chiropractor. If you have a question for me, you can always, of course, see us when you come into the office. If you're not a patient here, we'd love you to be a patient, but if you're not a patient, you can always give us a call here at the office with your questions, 561-739-9500, or probably an easier way is to email at chirosong, CHIROSONG, at AOL.com. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week with another edition of Question for Doc. I'm Dr. Lewis Singer. Have a wonderful week. God bless you and your family.